from an analyst point of view, what do you think have been the craziest decisions India has made in maybe the last 1 year?
Operation Sindoor. If you trace it back to the fact that we were lured into a trap by the Chinese and the Pakistanis.
For Operation Sindoor?
Yes, because I'll explain to you why. People whose job is to see this trap and advise the political leadership were perhaps sleeping. Why were they not aware of this trap? Or did they discount it?
The Chinese involvement.
The Chinese involvement and the extent of the Chinese involvement.
And we just thought it was a religious war. Hindu-Muslim.
If these American companies pull out and India goes in for Yuan trade and they pull out of India, the first impact will be you lose 1 crore jobs and 7 lakh senior management jobs.
Countries like जो हमारे neighbors है, Bangladesh, Nepal, Maldives, ये भी हमारे दुश्मन बन गए हैं या यूज करे जा रहे हैं और अभी हम इनको रियलाइज नहीं कर रहे हैं.
They are now pawns under the control of the opposite player. तो वो चीन के मोहरे बनते जा रहे हैं.
Hi, this podcast is with Iqbal Malhotra, author and filmmaker, also deeply interested in geopolitics and definitely a topic that we must address right now. So hope you enjoy it. So geopolitics, as we now we are even familiar, and common people like me are talking about the word geopolitics.
Yeah.
Is it something that's more real now? That yes, there is geopolitics, there is politics around geographies. Is this like ये अभी का phenomena है या ये हमेशा से ऐसा ही रहा है और बस अब हम इसके बारे में ज़्यादा बात कर रहे हैं?
ये हमेशा से रहा है from the time of the invasion of Alexander. What was Alexander's invasion? It was an exercise of geopolitics. He wanted to come to India. He wanted to rule the world. He wanted to plunder the riches of India. And he came, and after him, so many other people came.
Right.
And they plundered and looted. And they left their mark behind, their impressions behind.
Yeah.
And we have been a very porous society that we've absorbed things from every invader. But nobody could actually convert us into slaves. We resisted being converted into, and we retained our own identity, our own ethos, and the power of our philosophy and the metaphysics behind the philosophy enabled us to, in many ways, become ninja warriors, where to the outside, we were what the outside wanted to be, but within ourselves, we were true and honest to what our history and our past was.
But interestingly, when you say that we have been true to our identity and our beliefs, but on one side, I believe we are so fragmented. So then what's we in India?
The we is the collective history and experiences of this civilization, which has absorbed so much from all of the invasions and the different kinds of people who've come in, the different kinds of philosophies, metaphysics, ideologies, languages, skills, all of that. We've veritably been a melting pot. And because we had a big market, we had a big population, even from historical times, because I think at the time of the Emperor Akbar, we contributed 25% of the GDP of the world. So, since back then, because of our market, because of our ability to trade, and because of our interaction and the size of the land and the abundance of wealth.
Yeah.
So all of that was very attractive. And, so we've been through that whole period. And then, of course, we became one of the poorest countries in the world because all our skills were either destroyed or looted, and there was various conflicts. But again, we were risen. And so we are now in a position, I think, over the continuum of history to become a decisive player in world politics if we play our cards correctly.
So, cut to today's time, मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि ये जो लास्ट 1 साल में इतना सब कुछ हो रहा है, तो पाकिस्तान के साथ राइवलरी तो बहुत पहले से ऑब्वियस ही है कि है ही है, पाकिस्तान और हमारी दुश्मनी तो है ही है। चाइना के साथ भी थी, बट इट वाज लाइक नॉट सो ग्लेयरिंग एंड ऑब्वियस, जैसे आप बोल रहे हो कि ट्रेड जैसा लग रहा था कि हाँ ट्रेड में थोड़ा अपसेट है, ये है वो है, बट जानी दुश्मनी तो अब क्लियर होती जा रही है। यूएस के साथ और ही अलग ही पंगा चल रहा है। ये ये पूरी सिचुएशन में क्या ऐसा हो सकता है कि कंट्रीज लाइक जो हमारे नेबर्स है, बांग्लादेश, नेपाल, मालदीव्स, ये भी हमारे दुश्मन बन गए हैं या यूज करे जा रहे हैं और अभी हम इनको रियलाइज नहीं कर रहे हैं, या दे आर टू स्मॉल?
भाई एक तो दे आर pawns in the whole geopolitical game, and secondly they are now pawns under the control of the opposite player, which is China.
चाइना,
तो वो चीन के मोहरे बनते जा रहे हैं।
ये सारे।
हाँ, और बांग्लादेश तो एवर सिंस ये जो शेख हसीना's government was overthrown, since that time it has now become an enemy, virtually an enemy state of India's. And they have a old World War II airbase at called Lal Munir Hat.
Okay.
It's near the Chicken's Neck that joins India with the northeast.
Right.
Northeast of India is joined with the mainland of India. That Chicken's Neck corridor ke paas mein this Lal Munir Hat is there, and they have handed it over to the Chinese 6 months ago. So the Chinese are now positioned in Bhutan, and about a few 20 odd kilometers, which is the width of the Chicken's Neck, they are in Bangladesh. So they can catch us in a pincer movement at any point of time. And in the event of a war, we could have the northeast cut off from the rest of India. It's a very, very serious situation that has developed, and I'm amazed as to how the government of India was not aware of what was happening in Bangladesh. And why steps were not being taken to preserve our national interests, and to preserve or to even assist Sheikh Hasina in identifying why her government was going wrong, why was Bangladesh being destabilized, who was responsible for it, and we should have taken active countermeasures to prevent that from happening. But we were not successful. Either we didn't know enough about it, or we were not clever enough, or we were not interested. But that regime change that happened in Bangladesh has created a new border for us, a new problem for us.
I agree with that. No matter at what level do we interact with authorities, this is the experience, and at country at large also. But just to point it out and not go only by what media houses are trying to show us, but from an analyst point of view, what do you think have been the craziest things, craziest decisions, craziest moves that India has made in maybe the last 1 year, as per you? Like some things that could have just been avoided, but has करा है, हुआ है हमारे आसपास.
I think the craziest move has been how this equation with the United States has completely collapsed. And the United States is a very important country for us because last year we sold $80 billion worth of goods to the Americans. We imported about $35 billion worth of goods from them. So we have a trade surplus of $45 billion. We also sold $210 billion worth of services. The Indian economy today is predominantly a service economy.
Yes.
We sold $210 billion worth of services.
Wow.
We have almost 3 million Indian Americans who send in vast amount of remittances every year. We have Indians in the bureaucracy. We have Indians in the politics. Even the head of the FBI is an Indian origin man.
Yeah.
So when a country is so important, and a country with which you have signed 4 foundational defense agreements, you have allowed them into your country's armed services over the last 25 years, and you have been doing air, military, and naval exercises with them, to let the relationship fall to such a low level is tragic. it's a waste of time and energy and national resources,
Yeah.
because we've lost the confidence of an ally, primarily because the president of the United States is a very different creature. He's The current president is not a man who is interested in the welfare of his people or his national interest, but is more interested in the welfare of his family and his own family's interest.
Yeah.
So I think that the way we responded when Mr. Trump became president on the 20th of January, and 1 month later, the prime minister went to India, went to America, and they signed something, I think it was called Mission 500, that by 2030, the trade in goods, I'm not talking of services is much more and extra. The
Already.
trade in goods would be to the tune of $500 billion a year,
By?
right? By
By?
2030,
Oh.
in the next 5 years.
Uh-huh.
So that means almost a fourfold increase in trade. Now, in order for that to happen, you must be very closely integrated.
Yeah.
And we were integrated because we have accepted that we are in the American camp. There are only two camps in the world today, the Chinese camp and the American camp. The Chinese camp has China, Russia, Pakistan, North Korea, and Iran. And we are in the American camp. But when this whole episode started of Operation Sindoor, and when if you trace it back, I trace it back to the fact that we were lured into a trap by the Chinese and the Pakistanis.
For Operation Sindoor?
Yes, because I'll explain to you why. That on around the 10th of April, the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, announced that by June 2026, all the iPhones that are likely to be sold in America will be manufactured in India and exported from India.
Yeah.
And that meant that in April 25, he was projecting that by June 2026, in exactly 14 months, India would be exporting 54 million iPhones to the US. Now that would have added 5 to 6 or even more $1 billion of sales out of India, and would have exposed Indian labor force, workers, management to a skill set which is far above what they're used to.
Right.
And there's Apple iPhones are at the cutting edge of technology.
Yeah.
So the dissemination of technology would have meant that our industry would be moving down a learning curve, and we would have had tremendous non-price benefits from that happening.
Yep.
The Chinese would lose out because they would lose out on that technology that is being brought into China by Apple.
Yeah.
That technology would be being brought into India. They would lose out in further skill enhancement, and they would lose out in revenue, and they couldn't let that happen.
Yeah.
So the Chinese then decided to destabilize India so that India would not be a stable environment for the China plus one policy that the American president wanted American industry to follow. That means don't put all your eggs in the Chinese basket, but have another basket. And another basket means an Indian basket. So there are companies like Google, Dell, Microsoft, so many people who were planning to also shift to India, which would have resulted in increased FDI because a lot of people are leaving India also.
Yeah.
Because the market is no longer that attractive.
Yeah.
So they had to create this perception. And at that point of time, there was this controversy about this communal divide. There was this Waqf bill coming in.
Yeah.
And generally the communal tensions were heated up. So they came across this Pakistani plan to actually execute it. That let us execute a terrorist action where it was fine-tuned that only men are to be killed and their pants are to be pulled down to determine their religion, and the women are not to be touched, but they are to be used as messengers about the fact that their husbands were killed because they were not Muslims. That kind of message and that kind of finesse in delivering it, the nuances in delivering it, could only have been delivered by a Pakistani brain. But that Pakistani brain was being funded by a Chinese wallet. So they did that. Now the question was that they wanted India to retaliate. And once they retaliated, they would be confronting, once we retaliated, we would be confronting state of the art Chinese weapons, which would not only give China a clear leading edge in the international arms bazaar by having weapons that have overcome Western weapons, but would also lead one way or the another to a situation where a nuclear standoff was possible, and that would dissuade foreign investors from coming into India, because India was in an environment which was unstable, almost war had broken out, and all this investment and this China plus one would be halted, and Apple would be halted in their shift. So what happened is that the government, when this terrorist action happened, thought of it as an opportunity to actually strike back at the terror camps in Pakistan. But they never realized, or they didn't want to accept, that there are no terror camps in Pakistan. That terror in Pakistan is state sponsored. Those are not individual terror camps. They are state sponsored terror camps, and they are state assets because they have been set up and they are run by Pakistan government itself with the money of the government of Pakistan. So you cannot separate terror in Pakistan from this government. And terror towards India is part of the front line of the Pakistan army. And how is this terror funded? It's funded through the narcotics trade. So, by the admission of the Home Minister, of the Defense Minister in Parliament a week ago, when he said that the Operation Sindoor started on 7th May at 1:05 a.m. in the morning, and by 1:35 we had achieved our objectives of destroying those terror camps in 30 minutes. And we told them, gave them a message. The DGMO of India called up the DGMO of Pakistan and said, we don't want to escalate further. So in effect, what you were doing was that you were asking for a ceasefire. Right? Now, that famous Salim Javed type of dialogue, ke ghar mein ghus ke marenge, the government wanted that dialogue to remain unmolested, and that impact of ghar mein ghus ke marenge, and they will not retaliate. They will not hit back. वो वापस नहीं मारेंगे.
ये मैसेज कम्युनिकेट करना चाहते थे.
ये कम्युनिकेट करना चाहते थे. Now this is a very serious thing, that you are using foreign policy to for domestic political purposes, and instead of eliminating the enemy air defenses before you attack their assets, you instead went in to attack the assets. And when you attack the assets, they were waiting, they ambushed you. And the problem that we have is that there's something called a data link, which allows all the military assets to communicate with each other. But we have military assets from France, from Russia, from Israel, and from the US. Now these assets need to be integrated into one data link, which is like one language. They shouldn't be talking 4 languages. They should be talking only one language. Right? Now that was not done. So what happened is that the Chinese had a Chinese data link which they gave to Pakistan. They had 44 Baidu satellites operating, monitoring all of North India. Every airbase, every movement of every vehicle, every aircraft was being monitored. Then that the satellites were communicating to the AWACS, the airborne warning and control systems.
Yeah.
The AWACS were out of the range of the radar of the Indian fighter aircraft. So they were then communicating, sending messages to the Pakistani fighter aircraft whose radars were switched off, and they launched their missiles, which were then radar guided by the AWACS. So the Indian fighter pilots did not know of the fact that they were being ambushed by the Pakistanis. So we fell into this ambush because geopolitics and games like this are very complex,
Yeah.
sophisticated. You cannot get into this game in a simplistic manner and say we are only doing this, because if you do this, they will do that.
Yeah.
They then found that the next day, when the Air Force had a free hand, they demolished their air defenses, the Indian Air Force. And then the Pakistanis became desperate. There's a open source intelligence site called OSINT in the UK.
Okay.
That site has on its website cataloged the fact that the Pakistanis launched 6 ballistic missiles on us on the 9th of May. All those 6 missiles were shot down by our air defenses.
Right.
That's when the Air Force retaliated and bombed Sargodha, which is the airport close to the Pakistani nuclear control and command facility.
Yeah.
And that's when things became risky. And when Mr. J.D. Vance, the vice president, began calling up India and engaging in diplomacy. Now, the point is this, that they got worried that this was happening. They also got worried that American investment is coming to India. They got worried that we have walked into this trap laid by the Chinese and not seen it. Because the people whose job is to see this trap and then brief and advise the political leadership were perhaps sleeping. They were not even aware of it.
The Indians.
Our side, the bureaucrats, the advisors. What were they doing? Why were they not aware of this trap? Or did they discount it?
The Chinese involvement.
The Chinese involvement and the extent of the Chinese involvement. And this has been reiterated by this spokesman of the Chinese government, Victor Gao, who has repeatedly said that the success that the Pakistanis had over the Indian Air Force was because of the Chinese command and control systems, blah, 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 blah.
And we just thought it was a religious war. Hindu-Muslim.
You can call it that, but that was the trap that they got us into. So that's where your foreign policy, by merging it with your domestic policy, has caused us grief. Now, the issue was that we should have accepted the fact that the US mediated and agreed to nominate. हमारा क्या जाता है? Trump for Nobel Peace Prize. सानू की
ले ले भाई.
वो चाहता है कि भाई nomination चाहते हैं तो कुछ कर लो. And it would have been forgotten. But because this Godi media was tom-tomming this whole fact ke khoon ka badla khoon and all these Salim Javed type of slogans, they should never have done this because they caused the greatest damage to us, the Godi media.
I see what
and they then also ratcheted up. There was one news channel which said, and this famous anchor who said ke Karachi has been bombed, Karachi has been destroyed. It's completely finished. Harbour has been destroyed. These kind of absurd news is coming out, which was then inflaming the wrong kind of passions in the country. So if we had downplayed this fact and accepted the fact, and one little word said, "Ke bhai, theek hai.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Mr. Trump," this whole issue would not have come to where it has come today. So when there is a problem, you have to nip it in the bud. If you try and circumvent and go around it, the problem intensifies. Now the problem has become so big that what is the solution to it? Nobody knows. And where will it lead us? Nobody knows.
It's just getting worse day by day.
Yes.
From nothing with the US to
It's
sanctions and tariffs.
it's becoming much worse.
Yeah.
And we, here anything happens, there are lobbies here that say that, oh, don't buy US equipment. That guy wants you to symbolically say, ha, bhai, US helped us. American planes, yes, we'll buy the planes. You, instead of buying 100 planes, buy 25 of them. And if you're buying oil from Russia because it was cheap and they're giving you big commissions, you say, Are bhai, theek hai. We are buying so much oil from Russia, we'll buy more oil from America. We'll buy it today. Place orders. So do that dramebazi to make sure that the dramebaz sitting in Washington DC, he his ego is satisfied.
खुश हो जाए वो.
खुश हो जाए. ह्यूमर कर लो उसको. ह्यूमर करने में क्या प्रॉब्लम है? हाँ भाई, ले लेंगे आप.
पहले भी तो करते ही आए हैं.
हाँ, ले लेंगे. We'll increase, we'll treble our oil purchases from you. What's the harm? You have to buy oil. There's no written law कि भाई रशियन ऑयल ही लेना है. जो आपने उसमें 3 साल पैसा खूब कमाया है, तो अब 1-2 साल मत कमाओ उतना ज्यादा, कम कमा लो. लेकिन ये आफत तो नहीं आती जो आ गई है.
So true.
So where you had to diplomatically and intelligently humor somebody and not let the situation deteriorate, this has reached this level. Now, what is the way out? Nobody knows.
Is this, did we take this decision probably out of ego or just like...
No, I think that the advisors of the government were incompetent. They couldn't see the big picture. They couldn't see the trap that was being laid. And they didn't know what the right advice is because they weren't equipped. They didn't have the knowledge or the ability or the information or the analytical ability to analyze what was the real problem and how do we get out of it and work out options. How do you get out of this problem? How do you stem the rot? How do you prevent it from snowballing? 29 times that man has said, the US president, that I got the ceasefire done.
Yeah.
And he's humiliated us.
Yeah.
And he's humiliated the political leadership. And nobody is being able to deny it. Either you accept it or you deny it. At least let him shut up.
Yeah.
The president.
Close to karo usko.
Haan,
Yeah.
move ahead. Now repair the damage. But it's still kept pending.
And we're obviously rubbing the wrong guy. The person who will not...
So ultimately the thing, the point boils down to that, do you seriously think that from the frying pan you will jump into the fire and you will now go to China and say, aap my baap ho? You will then be in a worse position than Pakistan. Yeah. Because Pakistan is their proxy partner.
Yeah.
But where will you be if you go and join hands with the Chinese by folding your hands and saying that hame bhi le lo?
But have we done that? Have we gone to China with folded hands?
Now the thing is that on 29th August, there is the Shanghai Cooperative SCO meeting in Tianjin in China. India is the odd person out in that grouping because India is a Quad member and India is of the anti-Chinese alliance, and India is now also an SCO member. Now, India wishes to make a big thing of the SCO meeting in the hope that the Chinese will commit to attending next year's BRICS summit in New Delhi and endorse India's presidency of the BRICS summit. But the problem is that this year's BRICS summit in Brazil, the Chinese and the Russians didn't attend because the Chinese wanted to impose upon BRICS the policy that herewith, henceforth, the BRICS will not trade in US dollars, but they will trade in Yuan, Chinese Yuan. Now the Brazilians, despite their animosity with the Americans and the 50% tariff that the Americans have levied on them, were unwilling to do this, and India had already made an announcement that India was not going to go in for de-dollarization. So BRICS effectively has had a split in July 2025, because this de-dollarization is the big issue that has separated Brazil and India from Russia and China. So now the fact is that India has a lot of debt. Indian corporates have a lot of debt taken from American banks and European banks. The top 30 American companies operating in India employ 1 crore workers and 7 lakh senior management.
1 crore Indians are
1
employed
crore
by...
Indian workers are employed by Microsoft, Google, all these guys in India, not in the USA. So you have 1 crore jobs. If these American companies pull out and India goes in for Yuan trade and they pull out of India, the first impact will be you lose 1 crore jobs and 7 lakh senior management jobs who are currently employed with these American companies.
एक बार के लिए तो लूज होगा ही, बाद में भले ही
आपके चाइनीज आ गए, वो आ गए, ये आ गए, उतने नहीं आने वाले, उतने नंबर्स में नहीं आने वाले. Secondly, your service exports will be placed in jeopardy. $210 billion worth of service exports last year to the US. Thirdly, Americans might impose a remittance tax on remittances by NRIs living in America to India. Fourthly, your entire Tejas aircraft program is based upon American jet engines. The GE404 and the Mark II, the GE414. Now, just last Thursday or Friday last week, Hindustan Aeronautics has signed a deal with General Electric for the manufacture of GE414 engines with 80% transfer of technology in India. What will happen to that? So the crippling blow that India will face if it disentangles itself from America, to whose foreign policy and financial policy we have been tied for the last 20 years, will be devastating. So it is a naive, से कहते हैं ना बचपना कि जी हम चीन के पास जाएंगे. चीन क्या दूध पिलाएगा? क्या करोगे वहां पे?
चीन का इंटेंट तो वैसे ही बहुत ही क्लियर है. वो मतलब ऐसा हम क्या ऑफर कर दे रहे हैं उसको कि वो हमसे हैंडशेक कर लेगा और जन्मों की दुश्मनी भूल जाएगा.
जन्मों की वो दुश्मनी, वो हफीम की दुश्मनी, वो कुछ नहीं भूलने वाला. और वो पाकिस्तान के साथ ऐसा इंटीग्रेटेड है बिकॉज यू सी चाइना's all of its oil is imported and 90% comes from Persian Gulf and this Middle East. They were very vulnerable in the Strait of Malacca, where the ships have to go, that in the event of a conflict, the US could block the Strait of Malacca और China का जो तेल है वो फंस जाता. And that's 90% of their oil imports, and their trade, which is $3 trillion, all flows to the Indian Ocean. So they then developed Gwadar as a port. And Gwadar say they have the pipelines going into northern China, northwestern China, Xinjiang, which carry oil and gas. So they can never leave Pakistan because Pakistan is vital for the survival of northern China, because their entire electricity is also coming from Gilgit. There are 2 dams which are generating 40 gigawatt hours of electricity. That's coming from Gilgit. This oil and gas is coming from Pakistan. They are like the lips and the teeth in a mouth, China and Pakistan.
उनके बिना तो काम ही नहीं चलेगा.
So where will you be? In number 3 position if you go to China, Pakistan, and then India.
But have we gone to China?
No, there is talk in the media. The option कि we'll go to China, we will trade in Yuan, US नहीं तो China. ये कोई पिंग पोंग है? एक साइड पे US, एक साइड पे China. आपने जिसना जौन सा पार्टनर चूज किया, कभी यहाँ कभी वहाँ. You have to stick with a partner. And you've gotten to such an extent with America that you cannot think of it, and we should never have attempted to even play the China card, because there is no China card.
It can't be an option for us.
There is no China card. Like there is no Pakistan card, there is no China card. You can never have peace with Pakistan.
So thank you. I mean, this whole you brought in a lot of simplicity to the in between lines that I wasn't clear about. Uh, what now? Like, is there any way out, or we have really messed it up? What changes in policies, framework, strategy do you see, if implemented, could help?
I think the way out is still some distance away. I think things are going to get much worse before they get better. I don't see a way out right now.
What does that much worse mean?
I don't know. I really don't know.
So this tariff thing that's come up now, 25-30%, negotiations are on, and suppose it comes down to 15%.
Negotiations are not on. The US team was supposed to come here on 25th August. They're not coming here. So, how the negotiations will restart, what will happen? There will have to be a political solution to this thing because, you see, Mr. Trump has a gigantic ego.
Mm.
And unless and until that ego is massaged, things are not going to happen. And we will have to eat humble pie. And with all humility, go there
Mm.
and beg forgiveness and visibly make noises that we can hope will wipe out what's been happening over the last 3-4 months.
That's a lot of
Otherwise,
ego crushing on our
it
side.
doesn't appear, as long as Mr. Trump is president,
Mm.
that anything is going to happen from that side. Because you see, the thing is that there's a difference between Trump and the US government. The US government is not Trump, and Trump is not the US government. They're very different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But Trump is in power.
Mm.
So, how do you actually displace him or sideline him or sidestep him
Mm.
and get your objectives fulfilled? You need very sophisticated diplomacy. You need a team of diplomatic doctors who will go in and do some really creative surgery
Mm.
so that the patient then recovers.
Yeah, and is not sick forever.
Yes. So how are you going to do that? And it has many issues. It has geopolitical issues, it has people to people issues, it has defense issues, it has technology issues, many things.
ऑब्वियसली ये बहुत ही कॉम्प्लिकेटेड टॉपिक है. हर एक का अलग अलग पर्सपेक्टिव है. आपने जो सुना वो इकबाल मल्होत्रा का, उनकी रिसर्च है, उनका पर्सपेक्टिव है. बट जो चाइना के साथ ये कॉन्वर्सेशन है कि वो पीछे पड़ गया हमारे, जबकि पहले से था ही, लेकिन जिस तरह से अब घेर के हो रहा है, पाकिस्तान को इन्वॉल्व कर रहा है, जिस शिद्दत से पीछे पड़ा है इंडिया का, इसके पीछे एक हिस्ट्री है और एक रीज़न है जो कि सिर्फ ये नहीं है कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा एरिया कवर करना है. बट देयर इज़ मोर, देयर इज़ इमोशन, देयर इज़ एंगर, देयर इज़ रिवेंज. और इसके बारे में बहुत डिटेल में इकबाल ने अपने फर्स्ट पॉडकास्ट में बताया था, तो उसका लिंक यहाँ पे दे देंगे, वो ज़रूर देखिएगा. दैट कवर्स द एंटायर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. और अगर आपको जियोपॉलिटिक्स, पेट्रो डॉलर, वर्ल्ड व्यूज़ ऑन जियोपॉलिटिक्स, एक्चुअली ईरान, इराक, इज़राइल, यूएस, इंडिया, इन सब के बीच में क्या हो रहा है, क्यों हो रहा है, और ये खाली तेल की लड़ाई है या डॉलर की लड़ाई है या और कुछ भी है, इसको और डिटेल में समझना है तो ज़रूर सुनिएगा नदीम सिराज का पॉडकास्ट. वो एक अंडरकवर जर्नलिस्ट रह चुके हैं, एक ऑथर हैं, एंड इज़ वेरी वेरी वेल रिसर्च्ड अबाउट व्हाट ही टॉक्स. So I hope we are able to bring out some important point of views, perspectives on geopolitics for you through our humble channel. I hope it's making sense. Keep floating with the fish.